What's up guys, Mike here, the Detroit Borg, and today we're checking out the brand new Apple TV. This is also the 4th generation Apple TV and the first major redesign since the last generation, the 3rd generation, which added 1080p. And that was in 2012, so it's been a long time. So the 4th generation Apple TV is a bit taller, it's more expensive, and adds a Siri Remote for voice control as well as an A8 processor and a new operating system called tvOS, which is powered by a version of iOS 9. This also finally brings an app store to the Apple TV. So this no longer comes preloaded with all the available apps for the Apple TV. You now get to pick and choose. So there are two capacities, 32 and 64 gig, and that's thanks to the app environment, which does require some storage. And that starts you off at $149 or $199. Now the original 3rd generation Apple TV remains for $69. If you want to check that out, I did a video on it many years ago, which you can see in the description below. So in terms of the unboxing, we have a big black box wrapped in plastic. So the first thing we have to do here is peel it all off. Lifting the lid of the box, the first thing we'll see here is the Apple TV and the new Siri Remote wrapped in plastic. So let's grab the Siri Remote. So the biggest visual change here is the new remote controller. They're calling this the Siri Remote because it does have voice control. The Siri Remote is a much more sophisticated device this time. It has Bluetooth built in with a gyroscope and an accelerometer, so this can now be used as a gaming controller, which we'll show you a bit later. The remote itself has a glass trackpad toward the top instead of a directional D-pad. That trackpad surface is clickable and has the same texture as a MacBook trackpad. Again, this remote is glass, so be careful because it will break if you drop this on a hard surface. We have more buttons this time, so we now have a dedicated home button in addition to a menu button, which mostly acts as a back button. We also have our Siri voice button, which is more concave than the other buttons, so it's easier to find. And of course, we have play, pause, and volume up and down, which uses the infrared receiver on the remote controller to control the volume on your AV receiver or your television set. Now, the rest of the Apple controls use Bluetooth, although the Apple TV does have an infrared receiver, so if you want to, you can use a universal remote. Now, toward the top of the trackpad, you'll see a microphone, and if you flip over the remote, you'll find another microphone on the back, so you have a dual microphone setup. This remote also has an internal battery, which you can recharge with a lightning port at the bottom, and they do include a lightning cable at the bottom of the box. Toward the top, you'll find the infrared blaster for controlling your television or your AV receiver. Along the back, just like the previous generation remote, we have this all aluminum shell, which feels really nice and rigid. Apple does sell an accessory for the Siri Remote. It's called the Remote Loop for $12.99, and it's basically a lanyard for the remote controller that plugs into the lightning port at the bottom of the remote. The idea is very similar to the Wii Remote, so for certain games you're gesturing with the remote controller. You don't want to lose your remote controller when you're flinging it. Now the lanyard is adjustable, it's only available in black, and it's somewhat similar to the iPod Loop from the iPod Touch a few years ago. The connector itself has pins on either side, so in order to unplug it, you'll have to pinch the pins along the side, but of course this prevents the lanyard from unplugging from your lightning connector. So peeling off the plastic of the Apple TV, you can see it's very similar to the previous generation. It's just a black box that's really meant to disappear in your entertainment cabinet. We also have some plastic along the bottom protecting the circular pedestal for the Apple TV. And then we have another strip of plastic surrounding the glossy edges of the Apple TV, which are very easily scratched. Of course, on the back, we have all of our ports, which have been changed here. So we have our power port in addition to our HDMI output. And we also get our Ethernet port, which is 10/100 instead of a gigabit Ethernet port. But you do have 802.11ac Wi-Fi with dual MIMO antennas. We also have a USB Type-C connector, replacing the micro USB port on the back. That's used for servicing or maintenance of the Apple TV. Really isn't meant to be used for anything else like storage or something like that. Gone is the optical output like we saw with the previous generation, but of course all that can be handled through HDMI. Next up, we need to get to our critical accessories, which includes a power cable that's nestled on the right side under the remote controller in this little sleeve, which we can pull out. Under the tray of the Apple TV, we'll find some paperwork. So of course we have a quick start guide, which tells us about the ports and the setup process. We also get a set of Apple stickers, and right behind that is our regulatory and warranty information. And last but not least, we have yet another lightning cable for charging our remote controller. And of course, like always, the Apple TV does not include an HDMI cable, which you'll have to supply yourself, which you can get pretty cheaply, but you can also buy it through Apple. Now, the Apple TV setup has been simplified significantly. So all we have to do is select our language, and then we have to choose to set up either manually or using iOS 9.1 or newer, you can actually use your device over Bluetooth. You just have to unlock your phone, hold it close to the box, and of course make sure Bluetooth is turned on. Now you'll be prompted on your phone to log into your iTunes and your iCloud account to confirm setup, which will transfer all of those accounts to the Apple TV, and this will also transfer your Wi-Fi settings to your Apple TV. So you don't have to do all of that on the Apple TV itself. You can do it just by syncing to your phone. You can also choose to enable location services, enable Siri for the Siri Remote, enable automatic downloads of aerial screensavers, which we'll explore later. This is kind of a video screensaver, which is pretty neat. You can agree or disagree to send diagnostic and usage information to Apple. You can also share app analytics with the developers and agree to the warranty, so you can go ahead and get to the main interface. So let's go ahead and check it out. So taking a look at the interface in detail here, it's actually very similar to the previous generation, but with a new remote controller with basically kinetic scrolling. You can basically flick through the interface really quickly. You can see the interface is also much brighter, and the icons themselves are actually animated. So if I kind of wiggle my finger across the touchpad here, you can see there's some dimensionality to the artwork or to the app icons. It's really interesting, especially if you go to the settings button here. You can see it actually wiggles the gears. So up top, we have all the standard array of apps. We have movies, TV shows, App Store, which is quite new for the Apple TV. We also have photos and music. Now down below, you can see I've already installed some apps, but this basically comes with no apps pre-installed. It has all the core apps from Apple, but no Netflix or Hulu Plus or anything, or YouTube. I had to install those all from the App Store. Now these are movable, so I can tap and hold on this and relocate it to somewhere else on the screen. This is very similar to using iOS and the previous interface. Now for apps that are installed, you can actually uninstall them. So for example, if I want to uninstall Speed Test here, just tap and hold on it, and I can go ahead and press the play pause button to delete it. Delete, and there we go. So as you can see, when I move between these apps in the top row here, you do get suggestions up toward the top here. Now, if we go down here, of course, that goes away. So with movies, I can go ahead and select it, and I can see my top movies, purchased movies, or I can see my wish list, so I can add movies to my wish list. Genres recommended for me based on my viewing habits, and I can go ahead and just search if I want. So I can use text search, or I can use voice search, which we'll talk about in a bit. Now also on the home screen, you can see your recent purchases and your top movies. So if I want to select one of these new movies here, like Inside Out, I can go ahead and select it, loads it for me. And now I get a very detailed description of the movie all in one screen, and I can scroll through here to see things like the iTunes extras, which I can preview here. I can see the ratings. We have a new rating system here called Common Sense, which is a little interesting. So you can select this, and this will tell you what it ranks in terms of consumerism, role model, violence, message, drug, sex, violence, or language. You can also see the tomato meter, and now you can actually read the reviews here, which are off to the right. You also have the cast and crew here, which you can select. So if you want to see movies from Amy Poehler, go ahead and select it. And there you go, you have a list of movies to select from. And I'm going to hit the menu button to go back to where I was. TV shows is very similar here, so we can see a preview of our content on iTunes. So if you want to watch The Walking Dead, you can go and select it. So there we go, we get a description of the show. We can see the episodes that are available and their pricing, and you can buy a season pass if you want. We also have our Photos app, and this will feed all your photos from your photo stream. So any photos you take with your iPhone, or if you sync all your photos to your iCloud account via the Photos app on your Mac, they'll all appear here, which is really handy. So I can go ahead and select an image here, and I can swipe between the images, and if they're loaded here, they should pop right up. And of course, we have Apple Music. So the experience for Apple Music on the Apple TV is pretty much identical to the experience on your iPhone, your iPad, your Mac, that sort of thing. So when you log into your account, you can see For You. So if you're a subscriber to Apple Music, you'll see all your For You content here, so all your suggested titles. If we go back to the top here, we have news, so we can see what's new within the Apple Store. We have radio, so we have our radio stations, including Beats One. We also have My Music, so all your stored music is available online. And then we have our playlist, and we can go ahead and search for whatever we want. So again, if we go to For You, we can go ahead and select any title here. So for example, let's go and select some Deadmau5. So we can see our track list on the left side, and we can go to Love This to inform our For You selections. We can add this to Apple Music if you want. You can go to the artist to find more from that user or from that artist, and you can go to More for more information. So if you go to More, you can see Shuffle, Play Next, Add to Up Next. So again, you can queue up music on your Apple TV as well, or start a new station for the radio. So if we select the song here, it will start playing it back. So it'll start playing back in the background, and you do get your media controls on screen if you want. We can click Menu and move away from that. And if you ever want to jump back to it, all you have to do is go back to the Apple Music app, go to the top here, and you'll see the Now Playing screen. So if we go back here, it takes you to Now Playing. We can also access our content remotely from our computer. So right now I'm using home sharing through iTunes to access my library on my computer, but because I have my music synced to iCloud, this isn't necessary, so I won't find anything here. Next up, let's take a look at the App Store. So the App Store obviously is a huge addition with tvOS. So we can now install whatever apps we want. It doesn't come pre-installed. So that now includes games, other streaming services, music, and some apps you wouldn't expect on the TV. So if you go to the top here, we have featured Purchased and Search. So under Purchased, you'll actually see that we have a selection of apps that I actually previously installed on other iOS devices, and now there's a tvOS version of them, like Periscope. So I can go ahead and select that. That also includes things like Zillow, Speed Test, the Weather Channel. Some of them have been popping up since I last looked at this, so the Weather Channel is new here. So let me go and install that and see how that looks. So within the App Store, you can see a rating, a description. You can see some screenshots of it as well, and more information below that. You can also see the version history. So if I want this, I can go and click Install, and we could go ahead and click Open. So this will launch into the app. So it thinks I'm in Pontiac, Michigan, which is close by, so that's good enough. And so I can see my current weather conditions, the hourly forecast, and I can scroll through it with my mouse here on the trackpad. So I can see hourly, and you can see even it has the same sort of animation, although with their own language here. 10-day forecast, today's forecast through video. So there you go. So you have your weather right on your TV. Now going back to featured, again, you can see a huge variety of apps. HBO Now, Netflix, Hulu, Showtime, YouTube, and of course I've already installed some of these. PBS, CBS, Watch ESPN, etc. So anything you are used to having on the previous generation Apple TV is here. You just have to go ahead and download it. So another unique feature about the apps now on the Apple TV is that Apple no longer dictates how they look. You can basically see that the interface is what Netflix wanted, not what Apple wanted. So it's a little different, but still pretty consistent with the Apple TV experience. So in terms of Netflix, so for example, if I want to go to Star Trek The Next Generation, I can see my episode listing here. I can add it to my wish list. I can rate this title, stuff like that. And I can go ahead and just play the episode if I want. Checking out YouTube, this is something I'm particularly interested in here. Obviously, YouTube allows me to log into my account so I can see my subscriptions as well as my videos. So obviously I can watch my own videos here, and I can scrub through it just by swiping across on the trackpad. And it's really precise here. I really like this. Again, kinetic scrolling, so I can flick to scan faster or gently scrub to the exact moment I want and click the trackpad to get right to that point. So again, a really nice interface. Now, while I'm playing video, I can swipe down from the top to get to more information about this video. I can also swipe to the right to get to audio, so I can see the language, the sound profile, or I can select a different speaker system. So if I want to send this audio to a different speaker, either another Apple TV, an Airport Express, or even a set of headphones, I can do that here. Siri voice control has also been added to the Apple TV, which is very welcome here. So for example, I can just call up content I want. Star Trek The Next Generation. Now, the great thing here is that we have a cross-platform search. So for major apps like Netflix and Hulu, they are also included in the search, not just iTunes. So I can see iTunes or Netflix or Hulu. So if I want to go to iTunes here, I can select it. It takes me to the iTunes store. So there you go. I can buy individual episodes or buy the season. I can also be less specific. I want to watch a scary movie. So it gives me a list of movies I may want to watch, but I want to watch good scary movies. I want to watch a good scary movie. So it actually uses the rating to rank them here. So It Follows is up top, and there's a few others. So if you want to sort of limit your search, you can actually do that just by changing your language. I want to watch a good science fiction movie. Show me movies directed by Steven Spielberg. What are the top movies right now? I want to watch a good kids movie. I want to watch a movie with Patrick Stewart. But we also get some other familiar Siri functions. What's the weather like tomorrow? So we get our weather information. It pops up in this card, which we can swipe up to see full screen. Show me the MLB scores. And I can swipe up to see more information. How did University of Michigan do? When is University of Michigan playing next? So as you can see, it gives me the next game, who they're playing against, and what time and day. So I can swipe down to dismiss that. I can also ask it to launch certain apps. Music app. Netflix. Settings. Photos. App Store. YouTube. As you can see, it's really fast, and that's because the apps are actually suspended in the background, so they're ready to jump right back to it. Voice control also gives us additional controls within playback. So for example, I could say, skip ahead 7 minutes. So skips ahead 7 minutes and happens really quickly. What did he just say? So this will replay a segment and add subtitles to tell me exactly what he said, and of course that will stop after we get past the point we skipped back. Who's in this movie? So this will quickly give me the cast information for this title, and I can swipe down to dismiss it. Incidentally, with this trackpad, if you click on the left side or right side of the trackpad, it'll actually skip ahead or advance ahead 10 seconds. Now, if you want to put your Apple TV to sleep, just press and hold the home button. This brings up the sleep command. And this will also turn off any connected device, such as your TV. Now, in terms of gaming on the Apple TV, you can use the included remote controller in a number of ways. Of course, it does have an accelerometer and a gyroscope, so for games like Asphalt 8, you can actually use it in horizontal orientation and basically use it to steer the car. And you tap the buttons on it to control some of the functions. But for other games, you just use the controls on the remote controller to swipe or to gesture or to press buttons in order to interact with the game. But for the most part, these games are programmed specifically for the A8 processor, which is the same processing power within an iOS device like an iPad or an iPhone, so don't expect console-level gaming here. This won't replace your Xbox or PS4. Now, one of the most compelling features of the Apple TV returns once again, which is AirPlay. Of course, this is the only device that supports AirPlay, which basically means that we can cast the screen of our iOS device or our Mac directly to the Apple TV. Now, this means we can AirPlay videos, such as YouTube videos or movies from the iTunes Store, which then turns our iOS device into a remote controller for controlling that media. Alternatively, you can just mirror the entire display right on your Apple TV. So checking out the settings panel, if we go to general, you'll see about this device. You'll see your model number, serial number, all of that is under here. Under screensaver, this is where we have a really neat new feature called Aerial. So we have pretty familiar features such as Apple Photos, My Photos, and Home Sharing. So if you want to share your local photos, you can do that. But if you want something new and unique, you have Aerial. So Aerial will actually give you these 1080p videos as your screensaver. So they're really nice looking. Most of the time they tend to be cityscapes or landscapes or something like that. You can also select when these update. So you can download new videos daily, weekly, monthly, or never. You can also select when this kicks in, so you can do 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or 30 minutes. You can also have this click on when you're playing music, so if you want a screensaver while your music is playing in the background, you can do that as well. You can also select when the TV goes to sleep, so you can set it to never, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or 1 hour. So if you have your screensaver going on for an hour, you can do that if you want, or extend it to even 10 hours. You can also completely turn off Siri if you want, and you can manage your storage. So you can see what apps are taking up your storage. So all of these are apps that you can uninstall. So if you want to uninstall them, just trash them. So under accounts, this is where you can log in with your iTunes account or your App Store account or your Game Center account. And you can also log into your home sharing account as well, or manage your subscriptions right here. So if you have your subscriptions such as Hulu, you can go ahead and log into your iTunes store to manage them. Under audio and video, we have our audio output, and you can select different audio sources. You can do Airport Express, another Apple TV, or a set of Bluetooth headphones if you have those connected. We have surround sound, which you can set to auto, or you can enable Dolby Surround or stereo. You can also reduce loud sounds, which will even out the audio, turn off the navigation clicks or sound effects. We also have our HDMI output, and we have a variety of profiles we can pick from if you prefer. We also have our resolution, which I leave to auto, so it automatically determines based on the connected TV. So in my case, it's set to 1080p at 60 Hz, but you can manually select them as well. And you can see there's a lot of profiles here and refresh rates. You can also calibrate your TV to the Apple TV. So we have zoom in over scan, so you can adjust your TV to this image to match the Apple TV. And you also have your color bars to tune your TV. We also have AirPlay, so you can turn this on and off. You can change the name of the Apple TV. You can also have it play purchases from iCloud instead of streaming from your phone. So if you've purchased something on iCloud and you start AirPlaying it, instead of playing it from your device, it will actually play it from iCloud. You can also do AirPlay display underscan. So if you're having issues mirroring your Mac to your Apple TV, you can go here to change some of the settings. I just leave it on auto and it does just fine. We also have some security settings. So if you want to require a password or passcode in order to use AirPlay on your Apple TV, you can enable that. And then you can also have it turned on here so you can require device verification in order for them to access your AirPlay device. Under remote and devices, we have some options for the touch surface tracking. So we can select medium, fast, or slow. So I just choose medium. That's the default mode. We can also go to Bluetooth and pair additional devices such as Bluetooth headphones or game controllers. You can also have it learn a new remote. So if you buy another remote, you can do that. We can also enable home theater control. So the Apple TV can actually control your AV receiver and your TV. So for example, it can switch to the right input for the Apple TV or turn those devices on when you turn on your Apple TV or turn them off when you turn off your Apple TV. You can also enable volume control. So this will automatically determine what device is connected to the Apple TV, and then we'll set the Apple remote control to send the right IR control to turn up the volume or turn turn down the volume. We also have an app manager, which is a bit limited. Only certain apps seem to support app settings here, but you can automatically update apps. You can go to your music or iTunes app. So if you go to the music app, you can see you can enable iTunes music library. So I have that on repeat music off or on sound check off and on, and about the app. Under System, this is where you can check for software updates. If you go here, you can update automatically if you want, or update software now. And of course, you can also restart or reset from this screen. Now, I know it's a really small detail, but one last thing I want to point out are the sound effects of the tvOS experience, which sounds somewhat similar to the gaming consoles like the Xbox. So let's go and take a listen. So in the end, this is a major update for the Apple TV, but it is playing catch up to other set-top boxes. Of course, an app ecosystem is nothing new for set-top boxes. Neither is voice control or remote controllers that work with gaming apps. But it's really nice to finally have all of these features within the iTunes ecosystem. So of course, if you have a lot of content there, or if you use an iPhone or an iPad, a Roku or Amazon box or any of those other set-top boxes won't really work for you. So this is a great accessory for those Apple users who are using iPhones, iPads, or Macs so they can connect their content to their TV. Of course, the big drawback here is that we don't have 4K yet on the Apple TV, but this box is capable of it. So hopefully we'll see that very soon in the future, because a lot of set-top boxes, in fact, most of them now offer 4K video. In fact, this entire time I've been filming this review on a 4K TV, and of course the Apple TV really can't use that resolution yet. All right, guys, so that's going to do for me in this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one.